This is the ASUS ProArt PA32UCDM, and it's one of the best displays I've ever used. At $1,899, it's a 31.5-inch 4K QD-OLED display built for creators. It gets up to 1,000 nits of peak brightness, 99% DCI-P3 color, factory calibration, Dolby Vision support, and up to 240 Hz refresh rate. On paper, it's basically the dream display. The colors are incredible, the design is clean and modern, and it's packed with every feature a creator could want. But there's one small issue that might make this a no-go for some people, or maybe just me. But before we get to that, let's talk about this design. Because honestly, it deserves an award compared to most displays. This ASUS display looks good, really good. Like, it may be one of the best display designs. From the front of the display, you have clean, modern, thin bezels that don't distract you from the content of the display. At the bottom, there's a non-distracting logo in the chin with a pop-out for the display controls and the proximity sensor. If you flip it around back, you will find an 8mm panel plus a big metal bump that houses the power supply, speakers, fans, and ports. The aluminum hub is perforated on the top and bottom, and there is a shiny ProArt logo on the back. The base of the stand is aluminum with a very small footprint for a 32-inch display, and the stand is a dual pillar of metal and plastic, which allows for full adjustment of height, tilt, and rotation, but there is no swivel from side to side. Again, this is one of the best display designs I've ever seen, and I really like it, except for two little things. First, why do they need to mess up the aluminum base with the specs of the display? That's just dumb. Maybe the ProArt branding is okay, but this is really just unnecessary. Second, I really like the design of the stand, but it does not allow for cable management. The cables either hang straight down or through the bottom of the stand, but either way you're going to see the cables from the front. I've also tried routing the cables up above the vertical adjustment of the stand, but because of the dual pillar design, you're still going to see cables hanging there. Unfortunately, there's just not a lot you can do with cable management on this display, so that's just a little bit annoying. With the design out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at the ports, which offers pretty much what you need, but maybe not all that you want. There's an HDMI 2.1 port, 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports, and 2 USB ports. The main Thunderbolt 4 port allows for DisplayPort connection plus 96 watts of power to a laptop or tablet. The second Thunderbolt port allows for connecting Thunderbolt devices like an SSD, or you can daisy chain a second display like, I don't know, the ASUS ProArt 5K display. Alright, next I want to talk about the display itself, but first I want to mention the FindTrack Smart Finder from today's sponsor, Ugreen. If you've ever lost your keys or misplaced a bag before, then the Ugreen Smart Finder is here to help. This little guy can easily attach to your keys or a bag, making it almost impossible to lose again. You can even find them when they're hidden out of view because the Smart Finder has an 80 dB chime to help you locate it. Setup is super easy with the Apple Find My app. Just open it up, tap on Add, then Add Other Item. Give it a name and emoji, then accept the terms. It's fully certified with Apple's Find My network, which means that there are hundreds of millions of iPhones that can help you find your lost item anywhere in the world. But don't worry, because the Smart Finder will actively notify you if you accidentally leave the item behind, so you can go back and get it right away. Checking the battery level is simple with the Find My app, but the battery should last up to 2 years before you need to replace it. And if you're looking for something slimmer, the FindTrack Slim Smart Finder is the perfect size to fit in your wallet or a bag with its ultra slim card design, and it has a 1-year battery that's magnetically rechargeable. So if you want to check out the Ugreen FindTrack Smart Finder today, you can save by using the links and the codes in the description below. And my thanks to Ugreen for sponsoring this video. And now for the display itself. The QD-OLED inside the PA32UCDM brings great color accuracy and brightness. This is a 31.5-inch 4K display, which brings it to 140 ppi. I have to admit, in the last couple of years, I've been kind of a hardliner on 218 pixel per inch displays for Mac, like a 5K 27-inch display. But I've actually spent a lot of time using 4K displays with my Mac over the last year, and honestly, 4K looks just fine with 2x scaling. And maybe it's just me coming up on my mid-40s eyes, but I've actually been enjoying the larger 1080p scaling. This 10-bit display is factory calibrated, which ASUS says hits 99% of P3 color with a delta E of less than 1 for color consistency and accuracy. There are built-in presets for P3, Adobe RGB, Rec 709, and others to be able to produce accurate colors out of the box for professionals who really need it. And because panels can change over time, ASUS also has their own calibration software, so you can use a colorimeter and recalibrate the internal presets as needed. Of course, I did check the out-of-color box with my Datacolor Spider X Elite, and it actually read 98% of P3 colors and an average delta E of just 0.83. So overall, really accurate color. Not only that, because it is OLED, I was able to get over 7,000 to 1 contrast ratio on SDR content, which is amazing. And to increase accuracy and consistency, ASUS also includes an auto brightness limiter so that when you're working with full screen graphics or color, you will have consistency across the entire display. Of course, with HDR is where this thing really pops with about a 1.5 million to 1 contrast ratio and up to 1000 nits at peak brightness. And I have to be honest here, I don't create HDR content, so I don't really know how to take advantage of the display for that kind of workflow. But when watching HDR content, this display is exactly as you would expect. Colors pop, bright areas of the display make you feel like you're actually there, and the contrast of dark scenes is just what makes OLED so special. This display supports HLG, HDR10, and coming soon Dolby Vision. So if you can actually take advantage of an HDR workflow, or you just want to switch over to watch a movie or a game console and see this thing come alive, this display can deliver. But using HDR with a Mac and a non-Apple display can be a little bit confusing at first. First, you need to enable HDR inside system settings on the Mac. Then in the OSD of the display, you need to select the profile you want to use. Next, disable uniform brightness and increase the max brightness of the display. Now you can start up an HDR movie to get the actual full effect. Now, if you want to just leave your computer in this configuration all the time, you can do that, but the colors of SDR are slightly worse and the SDR max brightness is just a little bit limited. However, if you don't mind, you can keep everything configured that way so you're always ready for HDR content. Otherwise, just go into system settings and disable HDR when you're done watching HDR content or working with HDR, and you'll be back to a really great SDR experience. The PA32UCDM also supports up to 240 Hz variable refresh rate, so yes, you can take advantage of this with gaming. But also, everything just looks smoother for everyday computing, whether scrolling or moving windows, everything just feels more fluid. Now, I'm sure that you're aware that with the nature of OLED, there could be concerns about burn-in, and ASUS does have protections built in, including panel protection, which includes things like pixel shift. That's why sometimes the borders on these displays can look a little bit off because there's actually extra pixels that allow the display to move around to help protect it. There's image protection to help with static images like menu bars and game HUDs. Plus, there's a proximity sensor in the front which senses when you leave, and it will slowly dim the display to help protect it. I've only had this display for a few weeks, but I've been using it for 6 to 8 hours of productivity every day, and so far, I have no evidence of ghosting or burn-in. When it comes to just general use with macOS, there is no built-in way into macOS to actually control the brightness of the display. However, you can get this free utility called Monitor Control to do basic adjustments of the display brightness and the volume. And when it comes to how fast this display sleeps and wakes with a Mac, this is the fastest display I've seen outside of the studio display. So that's pretty much it for the features of the PA32UCDM, but there are two 3-watt speakers built in that are upward firing on the back of the display, and as you would expect, they're just not good. Maybe in the tightest of pinches, you could actually use them, but speakers in a closed MacBook Air sound 100 times better. But I have to know, is there anyone actually out there using speakers built into a display that isn't the studio display? If so, let me know down below because I'm curious. And now, I need to talk about the one main issue I have with this display. It's something that I'm not sure that I can get past with daily usage, despite how great the display is with color, brightness, HDR design, and general QD-OLED goodness. And that's the fans. To start, I have a bit of an auditory sensitivity. Clicking ceiling fans, random electronic whines, or even subtle shifts in white noise drives me nuts, so keep that in mind. But this display has 2 fans that spin up within minutes of normal use, and to me, they're loud. Louder than my 3 studio lights combined, which offer a subtle white noise. The noise from this display is sort of an industrial electronics fan noise. What makes it a little bit worse is that there's a pitch change sometimes as they ramp up and down slightly, making it a little bit more difficult for me to ignore. Here, listen. ASUS says that the fan noise should be between 26 and 28 dB and should not be noticeable in a normal workspace. So using a sound testing app, I was able to get 29 dB or sometimes 28 dB sitting right in front of the display shortly after the fan turns on. But as the fan speed changed, I would see something like 32, 34 dB or something, which isn't terrible, but in a quiet office or editing room, you're going to hear them. Out of curiosity, I removed the back panel to take a look at the fans and see if it was possible to maybe replace them. It looks like there are two fans, maybe 25 millimeters, and they sit above the power supply drawing air past it. There's also a thermal pad for the power supply with the back cover acting as a heatsink. Taking a look at it with a thermal camera, I never saw the area get warmer than about 26 degrees Celsius, which was only a couple degrees warmer than when the display just turned on. That doesn't seem crazy to me, and I wonder if the fans are really needed in that location. Regardless, I could not find a suitable replacement for a quieter fan. So yeah, I love almost everything about this display. But at $1,899, I wish ASUS had spent a few more pennies on better fans, or just found a way to cool it passively. My MacBook Pro M4 Max has fans that run frequently, but they're inaudible. My studio display, which costs less than this ASUS, has two fans that always run, yet they're inaudible. If you work in a busier space or you wear headphones a lot, then the fan noise may not be an issue for you. But to me, it's hard to ignore. So that is the ASUS ProArt PA32UCDM QD-OLED display. It has amazing colors and accuracy, the OLED contrast we love, and a design that is near the top. This is nearly a perfect display for creators, artists, or anyone who just wants a really good display out of the box. As long as a little bit of fan noise won't bother you, then you should definitely check this out, and you can find links to it in the description down below. But let me know if you have any other questions about this display. And if you're interested in the ASUS 5K display option, check out this video right over here. It's a good one. Right there. Hit the thumbs up button if you liked it, hit subscribe if you want, and I'll see you next time.